Guys! It's been a long time since I've done a video over college stuff. It's been a long time since I've sat down in my car and just talked about what I feel like talking about. I feel like I forgot how to like film a video and sit down and talk to a camera and do these things. Long story short, if you don't know who I am, my name is Chloe. I go to San Diego State University. I just graduated, but I have 2 more classes that I need to finish in 1 semester. So I will be back on campus again, which is really awkward. Today, I wanted to run you through some dorm tips or tips to improve your dorm, how to make dorm living the best it can be under circumstances that are fatal. As a disclaimer, personally, freshman year, I was actually in sophomore housing, so I didn't really have the typical freshman dorm experience with the communal bathrooms and the 3-person bunk bed situation. I had my own room. I shared a bathroom with 3 other people. I had it pretty nice, honestly. Still, I have accumulated some things. I've been in dorms. I've been in like community living for 2 out of my 3 years. I have some experience under my belt, but I will admit that it wasn't the worst situation possible. My first tip is to raise your bed if that's possible for you. Depending on the dorm room situation, some have bunk beds, so it's kind of not likely that you can raise your bed and put stuff under it. But if you're in like a 2-bed situation, try to raise your bed and then put as much storage underneath as possible. The room underneath your bed is going to be crucial for storing more clothes, all of the little miscellaneous things that you'll have. Your room doesn't come with a lot of storage for clothes, especially. It may come with a wardrobe, doesn't hold that much. So try to use the space under your bed for as much storage purposes as possible. The next tip, which you might have heard before, is to get a hanging shower caddy. If you have communal bathrooms, you have to carry around a caddy. It basically holds your shampoo, conditioner, body wash, face wash, all that stuff that you will be taking to the showers. If you get a plastic one that sits on the ground, I heard it gets moldy. I heard it can just get really, really dirty, and it's touching the floor of the communal bathrooms, which is the scariest place to ever step foot, which you shouldn't. You should also buy shower shoes and not be barefoot in the communal bathrooms. If you get a hanging shower caddy, there's usually a hook. You're able to hang up all of your products so they're not on the ground. Start minimal and buy things as you need them. Especially if you're an out-of-state student like me, I had to drive my car all the way to California with the stuff I would need to get by. A lot of that stuff was things I would only need for the first night. After that, I went out and bought stuff as I needed them. When you're in a dorm, the space is so small, especially if you have 3 roommates to split that. You have much less room than you're even accounting for, so don't over purchase stuff in the beginning. It's best to just buy the essentials of what you need. Make sure you really need something before you purchase it. A lot of videos, TikToks, and internet things will advise you to buy things, but don't feel pressured to do that, and kind of scope it out for yourself and then make the decision based on how you feel later on in the year. The lighting in dorm rooms are awful, so try to buy good lighting. A classic one is buying string lights. Some people will say that you don't need string lights, but I think string lights are a great option to have warmer and more inviting light in your room. Also, I plugged in my string lights to an extension cord, and I had the extension cord right next to my bed, and I could flip it on and off. So at night, I would just flip the switch off and it would turn my lights off, and then I would flip the switch on, and it was basically like a light switch, but for my string lights, if that makes sense. You could also get lamps. You could get LED light strips. Even if you think those are chuggy or like corny or not aesthetic, it's kind of just like a canon event. I don't know how to explain it, but in college, if you get LED lights, it's not, no one's gonna care. Something really big to remember is that you're living somewhere for 1 year, not even a year sometimes. A lot of dorms you'll only live in for 9 months. So there's no need to put pressure on yourself to make this the best space, the best area. Obviously, you wanna make it feel comfortable and you wanna make it feel like home, but remember that like it's not the end of the world. It's just 9 months. But good lighting is very important because this will help with seasonal depression and just make your space more inviting. Okay, this is very niche, but I've had people tell me that it actually came in handy for them, so I'm going to share it. Use your suitcase to transport dirty laundry to the laundry room. In most dorm spaces, you have to walk a little bit to get to wherever you're gonna do your laundry. It's usually not on the same floor as you. Sometimes it's not even in the same building as you. You have to go to a separate space. And so what I would do is I would put all my dirty laundry in my suitcase, and I would literally just roll it there. Your suitcase is so easy to roll and transport. I didn't want to buy a hamper that rolled because usually they don't have a lot of space. My suitcase had so much space to where I was able to transport a ton of laundry at once, and it was easy and accessible, and it was like my little hack. Shout out to my mom. I actually called her one time and I was like, I have so much laundry and I don't know what to do, and she was like, just put it in your suitcase. And I was like, what are you talking? That's actually genius. I feel like I've mentioned this before, but I'm not sure. You should have your decor be your storage and have it as one. Okay, this is kind of complicated to explain, but basically, you should buy decorative bins, and the decorative bins add to the space, but also they're storing a lot of your stuff. Or a good example would be if you have one of the really tall beds, you could get an ottoman that opens up and has storage inside of it, because not only is this helping you step up onto your bed, but this is also storing other things. In your dorm room, you have to get really creative of how you store things. Sometimes your storage has to be out in the room, in public, in everyone's face, and you gotta kind of manipulate your storage to be cute and add to the space rather than taking away from it. Next one is related to the whole Brita situation. One tip I have is that my brother said that this zero filter is a little bit more expensive, but it works better than a Brita. I'm not sure, that's just my brother's opinion. You can do your own research on that. Two, they sell Brita faucet attachments. You could hook on this attachment to your faucet and then it filters the water as it's coming out. Or the other thing is that they have Brita water bottles where it filters in the water bottle. I'm not really sure, but there's a lot of alternatives to check out for the Brita water situation. Also, if you're on meal plan, a lot of the times you can just go to the market and buy water. I know a lot of people that do that. I did that. Maybe don't get a Brita unless you know you absolutely want and need one, because I still didn't really use mine whenever I had it because I would just go out and buy water. Last thing that's a little bit niche, but my sister wanted me to mention it. She said to get a rug that's not fuzzy. This is almost like another Canada bed. It's important to get a rug because a rug really spices up the room. It really adds a lot of character. That's one thing that everybody said whenever they came into my dorm room, is that it added so much to the space. But you don't have a lot of space to store a vacuum, and also you're a freshman in college, so you're not gonna have a super nice vacuum. You might just have one of the little handheld dust buster or whatever, and you do not want to have a super fuzzy furry rug that will literally hide every crumb and hair and dirt and dust. Those will be really hard for you to clean. So her tip was to basically just get a flat rug that's just very one-dimensional. Those are way easier to clean, way less maintenance. It won't be as much of a hassle as a fuzzy furry rug would be. Going into a different kind of part of this video, I wanted to give you almost like lifestyle tips of while you're living in the dorms. These are just ways to kind of make the situation easier, meet new people, all of those things. They're not so much with like decorating and decor, but more of like things that you can do to benefit yourself. First thing is that you can go around and introduce yourself to everyone in the building. This sounds so daunting, but if you get your roommates to go with you, it's really not that bad. Basically, when I first moved into my freshman year, there was a ton of people who came and knocked on my door, and they would be like, hey, we're blah 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 blah, and we live on the 5th floor, and we just wanted to come introduce ourselves and say, hey, feel free to stop by. Like, you know, they do their little introduction. This is actually how I met one of my best friends. His room, his suite, came and knocked on our door, and I was the one that answered. They persuaded me that they didn't have the same furniture as me, but every room was the same. It led to me going and meeting them. I've literally been friends with one of those guys ever since. This is just a really good way to like introduce yourself to people, and then whenever you pass them in the hallways, maybe you'll have a class together, you can always say hi. And just introducing yourself to people not only helps you to get out of your comfort zone and meet people, but it also helps other people to approach you whenever they see you, or encourages them to get out of their comfort zone. Like, you can lead by example. Be sure to get involved with anything that's happening on your floor or in your building. The one thing that I was actually able to participate in was my floor ended up playing one of the other floors in beach volleyball, and that was like a really fun event. and it was a great way to meet people, and I talked to a lot of people that day. There's always things going on within dorm buildings or events or programs, and I know RAs and CAs work really hard to make things that are actually enjoyable for students. I mean, these people are also our age, so they try to make programs that will be really fun and enjoyable. Invite people from your floor to go with you to a program, or like talk to someone else and see if they have heard of any programs and if they wanted to go together. This one's kind of motherly, and you've probably heard it before. Take care of yourself and take care of your room, because you're most likely going to get sick, but in any way that you can prevent this, try to. Dorm buildings are just not the cleanest spaces, and you really have to go a little bit extra measures to keep yourself healthy. Maybe buy like a diffuser, a humidifier, keep a first aid kit with medicine and all of those things. Just always like wipe down your surfaces and try to keep it as clean as possible, because this will help to avoid getting sick, even though it's kind of inevitable that you will get sick. Going back to the decorating topic, don't feel the need to overdo it, because you have such little space that it can so easily feel cluttered. You're adding too much decor, you're adding too much extra furniture, you're adding wallpaper, too many posters. All of these things can overwhelm you, and also you will have roommates who will also feel overwhelmed probably. Combining 2 or 3 or 4 of people's things into one tiny space can make it feel so cluttered and so claustrophobic. You really don't need to overdo it with all of the things you buy to spice up the room. Last thing I have to say for today is to try to spend as much time out of your room as possible. Your room should be a place where you come to sleep, where you come to relax, where you come to take a breather probably, and you should try to do as much schoolwork, as much socializing, all of those things outside of your room. It's not going to be a huge space. You shouldn't want to spend a lot of your time in your room, because it is so small. That can lead to a lot of sad feelings. You know what I mean? Make that a space where you can come and feel safe and calm and collected. Make your bed a place where you sleep. Don't do your homework, don't eat. That's all up to you, but that's just my recommendation. But you can take this with a grain of salt. Honestly, that's all I have to say for this video. If you're heading off to college, subscribe, and I'll be posting a lot more college videos, or you can check out some of my previous videos. I wish you guys the best. DM me on Instagram if you have any questions. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!